So here is a really, really fascinating bit of maneuvering. Is the best way. GOP maneuvering. Let's see if this will work on you, Brad. You're a classic liberal. Let's see if they can see how dumb us libs are. See if we can catch on. Apparently, the GOP House is planning on taking cues from Trump advisor Kellyanne Conway. Well, that's a red flag right there. The GOP pollster and strategist turned Trump advisor in Walking Bride of Frankenstein have a plan for Republicans to address the problem of abortion. Now, because obviously Republicans have learned that anytime you talk about abortion, they lose. And they're like, we gotta let's knock that shit off. So Kellyanne Conway has been reportedly telling GOP lawmakers to outwardly support birth control and work on expanding contraception access. That way, when Republicans get questions about their opposition to abortion, they can point to their efforts to prevent the need for abortion in the first place and signal that they are not part of an overly restrictive and religious faction of the GOP. So, what do you think? You think that could work?
I'm gonna surprise you a little bit. I think that if they had put the horse before the cart, so if they had done this in years prior and pushed and joined Democrats to make contraceptive more accessible and easier to access and cheaper to access for Americans, to the point where even a lot of lower income people could get access free contraception easily, right? I think if they had pushed that first and gotten that out there first and and done their part to make contraception easier before they started going hard after abortion, tangibly, not like just the shit they used to say before, but before they actually started doing stuff about it on a state level, I think it would have made the medicine go down a little bit smoother. I do. I really do. I think there's a lot of people who are fighting this, who wouldn't maybe quite fight it as hard if you had this other option, because then at least they could point to and to Kellyanne Conway's point, they could point to and say, look, they're giving you options, to avoid having to do this potentially. I think that had you started with that, I think that maybe there's a little bit there, but I think the fact that you're trying to do it after the fact is completely the horse is already out of the barn, as they say on the Republican abortion issue. Yeah.
I agree with the second part, but I will add. I'll add a little bit to it. I don't actually fully disagree with you as far as if they had done this prior, right? It's actually a clever move, right? The problem here is she gives away the ghost. Quote, and signal that you're not a part of the overly restrictive and religious faction of the GOP. That's the problem, because she recognizes that there is a part of the GOP that is incredibly restrictive and that is incredibly religious. And the problem is that's fucking most of them. You're not going to trick hardcore Mormons and hardcore evangelicals into buying into this, because in order for this to have truly worked, it ain't just condoms, baby. Condoms. That's a
no. I think it's got to be.
You got to go Plan B, and they don't like that shit. So guess what? No fucking way. They see that as a they see it as abortion. So I don't think you can go far enough in this new hip ain't your granddaddy's GOP wave that Kellyanne Conway's trying to slide. You can't go far enough to bring people on the left who are really mad about this. Maybe you could pull a couple of people from the right who are really pissed about this, but I don't think you can bring enough people over, because you can't go far enough. The second you go into Plan B and shit like that, I think you immediately start the sirens go off to all of those hyper religious people, and they go, "Fuck that! You're doing the same thing Democrats do." And I don't think that works.
I don't know, man. I feel like abortion is just ultimately, I do feel like abortion is just like any other issue where you have people on the right that are on the far right that think it should be outlawed, full stop. and you have people on the extreme left that think there should be no restrictions at all. And I honestly think that probably most people exist in this spectrum across the middle. And I'm not saying they line up on the belief, but there's people on the right that are probably like, yeah, like, you know, I think it should be accessible up to a point, but maybe that point is like 10 weeks or 12 weeks or 15 weeks. And then you have people on the left that are like, I mean, this should be really liberal and accessible, but at the same time, like if you want to put like a 28-week ban or a 24-week ban in place, like I kind of understand, because at that point, like the fetus can exist outside the womb, and I think there's room to meet in the middle on that stuff, and so I think that even though you're right, like the religious faction of the Republican Party would sit there and still be like, no, like this is bullshit, blah blah blah,
and equally on the left, there would be people who were like, absolutely not. And by the way, I personally don't think they're wrong, right? Like, because I think the problem is this is an actual slippery slope, is that if you allow the GOP to say, oh, it's 28 weeks, then one state will go, it's 25 weeks. It's 10 weeks. Like, but
not if you put a federal, not if you make a federal law.
That's true.
They wouldn't be able to do that. So again, I think that there would have been room, but again, like I think it would be predicated on this fight starting out from a different point. And I think the reason why we are where we are is because the right advocated so heavily handed to let the states decide. And then once you take the fucking reins off, once you take the shot collars off, the states fucking go buck wild and act completely irresponsibly, and that's why the Republicans are where they are right now. Like if states were given that freedom to decide their own bans, and even the most Republican states were like, all right, like we're doing this at 24 weeks. I don't think that. I don't think the cries from around the country would be as loud as they were.
I agree with you. I don't think they would be.
But you had states where like 6 weeks, basically never, like 10 weeks, 8 weeks, all this shit. And that's extreme. That's extreme. And again, that was guided by listening to the most extreme voices in your party. Basically, if we did politics, like congressional politics, the way we did in the 80s, we probably would have gotten at a result that was palatable to most people, that still made both sides a little angry for different reasons, but most people could live with it. But because we are now in this very polarized world,
100%,
we will never arrive at such a
and look, like I'm not mad at folks, especially women on the left, who are like, listen, that's my body, I get to make that choice, fuck off. Right? 100%. I'm in complete agreement with you. But I do think your point, and I know you also agree with that, right? Because I think I hate to say this, but I think we have to add in all of these like trapdoors just so it is not taken out of context. We're not saying we agree that a 24.
I'll give you my ultimate position on abortion. I've got a penis. My voice doesn't really fucking matter in this, in this equation, in my honest opinion.
Right. But what we're saying is, from a political standpoint, would it have helped? Like, would it have calmed the sort of like the fervor all over the country if it was a 25-week ban or something? Yeah, probably. Because I talked about before, 95% of abortions happen in like the first 12 weeks. There's such a rare amount of people who ever make it there. And when they do, it's normally because of some major medical reason where everyone goes, oh, I mean, yeah, what the fuck, man? You're not going to make this woman give birth to a child that's going to die immediately. That's fucking horrendous, right? Now, there are nutball religious people who are like, you got to give birth to that dead baby.
God's will. It's God's will.
Right.
Like, it's God's will.
But what about you? Well, I don't want to see it, right? So, like... Those people are nutcases, and like those people you should ignore, and they're not to be taken seriously because they don't live in reality. But the vast majority of people would probably be like, yeah, I don't like it, but like that feels reasonable. And it actually could have, like, this is how you know how fucked the country is, because it would have actually kind of killed the debate. It would have kind of killed it.
Oh, it would have. It would have 100%. Like you would look, 28 weeks, like 28 weeks cut off unless the life and safety of the mother is in danger, and that's the exception. But 28 weeks,
right?
Once the fetus reaches viability, you're done.
Right.
Decisions made. You had 7 months. You know what I mean? Like that's
right. And by the way, full stop. By the way, if the woman's in the life of the mother or the life of the child, like, is in danger, like, there's no states like, well, but what about no. Period. Like, if a doctor is like, no, dude, this is a fucking legitimate thing. No bullshit. We're done here. Then we're done. Like, yeah, I think 95% of this country would just be like, yeah, like, again, on either side, be like, yeah, I don't love it, but I can live with it, right? But again,
that's what bipartisan politics is supposed to be. Like both sides are supposed to walk away from the table a little upset, little upset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's kind of how it works.
Right.
Tell you you got a good deal, actually, in most cases. But when both sides walk away unhappy, that's how you know it's probably a good deal, because not everybody got exactly what they wanted.
Right. And by the way, keep in mind, there's also the other element here, right? Which is you're talking about a human being's right to their own body, right? So
correct.
That is the reason why the lines are drawn, I mean, mentally drawn in such hard ways. Because women are like, no, fuck off. I mean, I'm abdicating that, right? And you have 100% reason to feel that way, which is why I support, that's why I'm pro-choice. Because you are literally trying to tell a woman, well, at 28 weeks you get to, like, that's a little hard thing to do. But to our point, politically, most people would have been like, yeah, I think I can live with it. And the funny thing is, if they had just done that, if Republicans had just done that, they'd be good. But now they decided, like you said, to fucking let the horse out of the barn with the states, and the states they have forever fucked the Republican Party. They literally have.
And now it's going to cost. And it's already, but you could argue it's already cost them one election in 2022. It looks like it might cost them another election this year, and who knows how far in the future if states are allowed to continue being on their bullshit, as it were.
Look, the thing that secretly Republicans are hoping for is, God, I hope Democrats win so that they can just do a fucking national, like, just nationalize this shit and everyone can do it, so they just stop beating us up over it. Like, I honestly, because the worst thing to do is, we're just talking politically, the worst thing for Republicans right now is that big matzo ball is just sitting out there, in every election, no matter whatever the economy is doing, whatever, people go, you guys made it so that people can't have abortions, and fuck you. And they're like, you're right. Oh, could you please forget?
It's like an enormous fucking piñata that you don't even have to try to fucking aim to hit, and there's just fucking candy falling all over the place.
Bing!
Yeah.
Fucking let's go. Bring it back out, guys. Because it's something that people will never forget. Women will never grow tired of throwing it in your face that you're trying to legislate their bodies. They will never grow old on that. They will never, like, oh, well, all right, we're moving on to something else. No, yo, it's their bodies. It's theirs their entire time they're alive, and they're pissed. So they have every right to be. So guess what? That's your fault. That's your fault, dude. You shouldn't have done that. But them trying to do that now, it's clever. It's not going to work, but it's clever. So I thought it was an interesting. Strategy.
But again, I don't even think that there's a lot of. I don't think there's a lot of fucking motivation on the Republican side to do such a thing anyway. I really don't.
No,
because again, like that would require you to support organizations like Planned Parenthood, who they think is fucking evil, and to let federal dollars support what they consider to be, abortion, essentially, which is a no-go for them. So,
right. So, best of luck. Best of luck.